Greetings aspirants, welcome back to Capture the Current Affairs. Aspirants, so far we have covered April, May, June and July current affairs. In today's session, let's decode the polity current affairs of August month in a structured and exam-focused manner. So the topics for today's discussions are Union Territory Assembly, NALSA, UPSC, 9th Schedule, National Cooperative Policy 2025, CEC Removal Process, extension of President's Rule. So let's get started. Over to Vikas Sir.
Thank you, Chaitanya Ma'am. So the first topic that we see is Union Territory Assembly. Now we see that in the month of August, there were a lot of debates with respect to the nomination of members to the Union Territory Assembly of Puducherry. Now we see that with respect to the Union Territories in India, we do have the option for legislative assemblies, but that is available only for two states, that is Puducherry and Delhi. So we have to know little bit basics about this more in detail. So we need to know that in India, as of now, we only have for the two states, that is Puducherry and Delhi. And second, we need to know that there is a provision where the central government can nominate the members of the legislative assembly in these union territories. And also we see that the rights of these nominated members are exactly same as that of the elected members. Knowing these basics and also knowing little bit about the Government of Union Territories Act 1963 is also very important. And also apart from this, knowing in general what is the difference between the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies and the legislative assembly of union territories and that of the states are very important in this context, ma'am. So the second topic that we see is NALSA. Now in the month of August, there was a effort taken to expand these services under NALSA to various sections of the society. Now in this context, understanding the basics of NALSA becomes very important. So one, we have to know that the NALSA is established under the Legal Service Authority Act 1987. So that means it's a basically statutory body. So knowing this is one important aspect. The second thing is we have to know who are the beneficiaries under the NALSA Act. Now we see that there are different beneficiaries including women, children, SCs and STs, persons with disabilities and other beneficiaries. So knowing about them is important. And the next aspect is knowing about the Lok Adalats. The Lok Adalats are established under the same act, which are also providing the free legal aid services, and also knowing little bit about Article 39A, which also talks about free legal service, which we have already discussed in the previous section. Knowing about these aspects are very important. So there can be probably a statement based question with respect to NALSA. And also along with that, knowing briefly about the State Legal Service Authority, District Legal Service Authority is also equally important here, ma'am.
Well, Vikas Sir, there's a PYQ with relevance to this NALSA. And the question is, in India, legal services authorities provide free legal services to which of the following types of citizens? A person with an annual income of less than rupees 1 lakh, transgender with an annual income of less than rupees 2 lakh, member of other backward classes with an annual income of less than 3 lakh, all senior citizens. Select the correct answer using the code given below. 1 and 2 only, 3 and 4 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 4 only. Aspirants, we want you to comment the right answer in the comment section below.
And the third topic that we see is UPSC, Union Public Service Commission. Now why UPSC itself is in news is because there has been the completion of 100 years of establishing the Public Service Commission in India. Now the establishment goes back to 1926 during the colonial time, and now since there has been the completion of 100 years, it becomes a very important question. So now one, we need to know about the constitutional provisions with respect to UPSC. So wherein we need to know about Article 315, which provides for the different provisions of UPSC. Second, we need to know the basics, that is what is the appointment procedure, what is the removal procedure, what is the tenure of UPSC members, and who has the authority to remove them. All these basics are very important. And also knowing the difference between UPSC, that is Union Public Service Commission, and State Public Service Commissions is also important. These are the possible areas that we have to be knowing in this context, ma'am.
Well, thank you, Vikas Sir. Over to Rajesh Sir.
Thank you, Chaitanya Ma'am. The next topic is 9th schedule. So it is in news because Supreme Court got a lot of petitions. So regarding the laws kept under 9th schedule. So that's why it is in news. So schedules are very important for UPSC. Even UPSC asked a lot of questions with respect to schedules. In this regard, we have to know the basics about 9th schedule. So 9th schedule was added in first Constitutional Amendment Act, especially to protect land reforms from judicial review. So originally, the laws listed in 9th schedule were immune from any judicial interpretation or judicial reviews, and it cannot be challenged if they violate fundamental rights. In IR Coelho case, Supreme Court ruled that the laws which kept under 9th schedule are not completely immune from judicial review. So if any laws violates basic structure doctrine, so definitely it can be challenged. So and this could be applied only after April 24, 1973. So that is the landmark judgment of Keshavanandi Bharati case. So these basics we have to know. At present, nearly 280 plus laws kept under 9th schedule. So Parliament have all the power to keep the laws under 9th schedule. So Parliament can keep laws through constitutional amendment under Article 368. So with special majority, and it should be followed by the President approval. So then only they can keep laws under 9th schedule. So with respect to this, we have got a lot of various questions with respect to 9th schedule. So try to know in detail.
Well, one such PYQ is, the question is, the 9th schedule was introduced in the Constitution of India during the Prime Ministership of Jawaharlal Nehru, Lal Bahadur Shastri, Indira Gandhi, Morarji Desai.
So next topic is National Cooperative Policy 2025. So in 2025, UN declared 2025 as a year for cooperatives. So that's why it is in news. By the same time, our Ministry of Cooperatives has come up with this National Cooperative Policy 2025, and it is going to support our Viksit Bharat by 2047. So in this regard, we have to know the features of this policy and also the basics associated with cooperatives. So with respect to the features of the policy, so here they have given more importance to youth engagement, and also the cooperatives has been extended to the new sectors such as renewable energy, even green energy, even artificial intelligence, and also health. So try to know, so what are the new areas included in this particular policy, and also it set two targets. The first target is we have to establish a cooperative in every village within 5 years. So we have to improve the cooperatives contribution to GDP from present 5% to the 15%. So these are the targets they have set in the policy. This is all about the policy. So we have to know more about the constitutional provision. The cooperatives has been introduced in 97 Constitutional Amendment Act. So here, we have amended Article 19 Part 3 of the Constitution. So where we added citizen have right to form cooperatives. So then we also inserted a new article under Part 4. So that is Article 43B under Part 4 of the Constitution. So then also we have introduced the new part. So that is Part 9B along with Articles 243ZH to 243ZT. So try to know these provisions in detail, and also try to know the important provisions such as election and reservation, especially with respect to cooperatives. Here UPSC might ask, so the cooperatives is defined or mentioned in the Constitution. Actually, cooperatives are defined in the Constitution under Article 243ZH. So we should aware of this because UPSC has a lot of questions with respect to cooperatives. So we have to know in detail.
Well, aspirants, there isn't PYQ with relevance to this national cooperatives. You'll find the question popped on the screen. Well, thank you, Rajesh Sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Over to Suresh Sir.
Thank you, Chaitanya Ma'am. The first important topic is Chief Election Commissioner Removal Process. It was in news because the debates were intensified over the removal procedure of CEC by opposition leaders. Okay, in this context, we have to study CEC in detail. First point, it was established in 1950, January 25th. Second point, you have to remember the articles. It deals with Article 324 to 329, Part 15. Third point, its composition. It consists of one Chief Election Commissioner and two Election Commissioners. Usually, it deals with elections of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, President, Vice President, and State Assemblies. Next point is, if you look at the appointment procedure, it is done by Select Committee, which consists of Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition, and Cabinet Minister. Next point is tenure. Tenure is 6 years or 65 years, whichever is the earlier. If you look at the removal part, usually the CEC removal part, whatever we are discussing, Chief Election Commissioner removal procedure is equivalent to Supreme Court judge. And if you look at the other election commissioner, it is usually required from recommendations of Chief Election Commissioner. So in this context, UPSC can ask removal procedure, appointment mechanism of both election commissioner and Chief Election Commissioner, independence of election commission, and comparison with the other constitutional bodies, and role of parliament in impeachment, electoral reforms. These are the areas they can ask about. Next topic is extension of president's rules in Manipur. So it was in news because Parliament approved extension of president's rule in Manipur in August 2025. So in this context, you have to read about Article 356 and 365. Second point is it should be approved from the both the houses within 3 months in simple majority. Third point, so if you look at the validity of the president rule, initially it can be valid for 6 months. After that, it can be extended for 3 years with every 6 months approval. Remember, as per 44th constitutional amendment, it can be extended beyond 1 year only if national emergency exists or election commission certifies that election can't be held. So in this case, it can be extended for 1 year. Remember, simple majority from the both the houses. When it comes to revocation, it can be revoked by president at any time without any parliamentary approval. So in this context, we have to study about the conditions for president rule and role of the governor and parliamentary approval requirements and comparison of other emergency provisions. These are all the areas you must focus on.
Well, sir, there's a PYQ with relevance to President's rule, and the question is, which of the following are not necessarily the consequences of the proclamation of the President's rule in a state? 1. Dissolution of the State Legislative Assembly. 2. Removal of the Council of Ministers in the state. 3. Dissolution of the local bodies. Select the correct answer using the code given below. 1 and 2 only, 1 and 3 only, 2 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. Thank you, Suresh Sir. Well, aspirants, that's it for today's session. Keep preparing. Thank you.